Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting exclusive offer just for you.
For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just go to getcopperhead.com. That's getcopperhead.com for your 2 free gifts with purchase. Getcopperhead.com.
I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and 0 weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.
And away we go, episode 1295 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Friday, April 3rd, 2026. It is Good Friday, as this weekend is Easter weekend. Happy Easter to those who celebrate, like me. This also is the day after we got not one, but 2 statements from our rebuilding and tanking Washington Wizards early Thursday afternoon. One statement was the team announcing that Keyshawn George is done for the season. No surprise, he has been out for the team's last 16 games due to a grade 2 UCL tear in his left elbow. The Wizards have just 6 games left in the NBA's 2025-2026 regular season. The other statement was the team apologizing for an April Fool's joke that went awry. The Wizards, during their 153-131 loss to the Philadelphia 76ers at Capital One Arena on Wednesday night, appeared to prank a fan. No, not by the Wizards' defensive effort in the game, but by making the fan think that he won $10,000 by hitting a half-court shot while blindfolded. The fan did not make the half-court shot. A lot of people were upset by this prank, and the Wizards on Thursday afternoon issued an apology, revealing that the entire segment was scripted and, quote, all participants were in on the joke, end quote. I read to you the statement in its entirety. Quote, we apologize for last night's April Fool's joke that left many wondering if we had misled a fan. The skit involving our mascot and other members of our performance team was scripted and intended to celebrate the day. All participants were in on the joke, but we missed the mark. Our fans are our priority, and we continue to be committed to providing a positive experience to all who attend our games, end quote. Only our NBA team, the Washington Wizards, would have to apologize for an April Fool's joke. Forget about the fan who missed the shot being in on the joke. And forget about whether people are being way too sensitive in being upset by the joke. Just look at this scenario from the following perspective. The Wizards did an April Fool's joke that caused the team more problems than anything else, and that led to the team having to apologize. That is so Wizards.
The damn Washington Wizards.
Exactly. Thank you. ESPN Stephen A. Smith. Hello and welcome to this Friday installment of the Galdi podcast. Next segment, the first of two conversations in the coming shows with one of our favorites, Washington Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack. We next segment with Ben will discuss his takeaways from the NFL's annual league meeting and where we are with what Washington will do with its number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL draft, including the likelihood of the team re-signing any of its many remaining prominent unrestricted free agents, which Washington player is most likely to wear the green dot in week 1 of the 2026 regular season, the lingering uncertainty with the team's 2024 NFL draft class, the possibility of the team trading down in the first round of the 2026 NFL draft, and who the team might take if it sticks and picks at number 7. A lot of draft talk next segment. Ben Standig next segment with Washington Commanders intel. And also on the show, I'll talk Washington Capitals. The Caps, they lost at the New Jersey Devils 7-3 on Thursday night. A rough blow to the Caps' fading postseason hopes. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Email from a very loyal supporter of this podcast, Dr. George Verghese, who operates the Mid-Atlantic Skin Surgery Institute of Maryland. Dr. Verghese, an elite dermatologist. His email comes for conversation on Wednesday's show, episode 1293, about comments from Washington General Manager Adam Peters and Washington head coach Dan Quinn this past Monday in Phoenix at the NFL's annual league meeting about why the team released center Tyler Biadasz and whether the team tried to trade him. Writes the doctor. Al, now AP is declining to offer details on why the team had to release Tyler Biadasz. Very strange. What could he be guilty of? Are you able to crack this mystery? I'm curious. And DQ says there will be a competition between Allegretti and Jones Good. This is JD5 malpractice in the highest degree. Thank you for the email, doctor. Dan Quinn on Monday morning regarding Washington's Planet Center mentioned Nick Allegretti, Julian Good Jones, not Jones Good, and the possibility of the team acquiring more at center. So the reports on February 26th that Washington was releasing Tyler Biadasz were so surprising that you had to wonder, I know I did, if something had happened off the field. Like, did he have an attitude problem? Did he get in trouble? Did Biadasz rob a bank? Like, where did the team releasing him come from? I can tell you that the team did not release him for anything off the field. This was about the team being dissatisfied with his performance, even though, Biadasz seemed to do well over his 2 seasons with the team, often having signed him as an unrestricted free agent in March 2024. And even though, the Los Angeles Chargers signed Biadasz right away. Washington on March 3rd announced having released Biadasz, and the Chargers on March 6th announced having signed Biadasz as an unrestricted free agent, and the Chargers gave him a nice contract. They, per overthecap.com and spottrack.com, signed Biadasz to a 3-year, $30 million contract with $15 million fully guaranteed at signing. So what was the cause of Washington's dissatisfaction with Biadasz's play? The team won't say. It's taking the high road. His blocking did not seem to be that bad. And so that brings you to this. There are a lot of responsibilities for a starting center as compared to responsibilities for other offensive linemen. So maybe the dissatisfaction is rooted in the other responsibilities. And there's also this. Washington on January 6th parted with offensive line coach Bobby Johnson in the first of the team's surprising offensive line moves this offseason. But you look at the two developments, the team parting with Bobby Johnson and releasing Tyler Biadasz. Clearly, the team had dissatisfaction with the offensive line this past season. As much as the offensive line got talked up as being a positive as last season went on, the team internally had dissatisfaction with the offensive line. You don't part with the offensive line coach and the starting center if you don't have dissatisfaction with the offensive line. As much mystery as there has been with why Washington released Tyler Biadasz, the team releasing him does perhaps make the team parting with Bobby Johnson make more sense. The team internally had dissatisfaction with the offensive line and put blame on Johnson and Biadasz. You know, there is so much about offensive line play that we don't know. We can think that we know about offensive line play, but there just is so much that we don't know. There's a famous rant from Jim Mora during a press conference from his time as New Orleans Saints head coach. The rant is the "you guys really don't know" rant. The rant is harsh, but the rant contains a lot of truth. Here you go.
You guys really don't know when it's good or bad, when it comes right down to it.
Will you make a promise to us? Will you tell us when it's good?
And I'm promising you right now that you don't know when it's good or bad. You really don't know, because you don't know what we're trying to do. You guys don't look at the films. You don't know what happened. You really don't know. You think you know, but you don't know, and you never will, okay? Just for your own information. Sometimes I can tell you it won't be good, and you'll see it won't be good. Sometimes you'll think it's good, and it isn't any good. Sometimes you'll think it's bad, and it was pretty darn good. Sometimes you'll think it's bad, and it was bad. But basically, you really don't know. The only people that really know are our coaches. And that goes with run blocking, pass defense, all those things. The media, public doesn't know. You guys don't know. Not really know.
Yeah, Jim Mora's message to fans and media members: you guys don't know. Not really know. Again, that was harsh, but again, there was a lot of truth in that rant. If you enjoy this podcast, check out BGO Blind Pig, the official podcast of BGObsession.com. BGO Blind Pig is great. It is a roundtable discussion of the Washington Commanders. It's like you and a bunch of your buddies who are Washington fans are hanging out and talking about the team. The conversation is smart and fun and respectful. Enhance your Washington Commanders content and check out the BGO Blind Pig podcast. Next time you're on YouTube, just search BGO Blind Pig and see what you think. You can find the BGO Blind Pig podcast on YouTube and on any major podcast provider. Make BGObsession.com the home for your burgundy and gold obsession, and make the BGO Blind Pig podcast part of your Washington Commanders podcast rotation.
Today's show is sponsored by Strawberry.me. Let me ask you something. Do you think championship athletes got to the top by guessing? No, they had coaching. Every elite athlete has a coach watching their form, calling the plays, and spotting the blind spots they can't see themselves. That's how championships are won. So why are you trying to win in your career without a coach? You're grinding, hoping for the promotion, trying to read the politics, guessing your next move. That's amateur hour. If you want to perform like a pro, you need coaching. Strawberry.me matches you with a professional career coach who breaks down your game film. They help you negotiate the raise, navigate workplace politics, and execute a strategy that actually works. Stop riding the bench in your own life. Go to strawberry.me/podcast50 to get 50% off your first coaching session. Strawberry.me, because pros don't guess, they get coached to win.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting exclusive offer just for you.
For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just go to getcopperhead.com. That's getcopperhead.com for your 2 free gifts with purchase. Getcopperhead.com.
I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and 0 weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.
If you get anything out of this podcast and you listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, it is greatly appreciated if you write a review of the podcast saying that you like it. The review does not have to be long, can be just a sentence or two, but the reviews do help out the podcast a lot. And thank you very much for listening to the podcast and for doing the reviews. So, we this past Sunday through Wednesday in Phoenix had the NFL's annual league meeting at which 3 power brokers for the Washington Commanders all did sessions with reporters this past Monday. Managing partner Josh Harris, general manager Adam Peters, and head coach Dan Quinn. Each guy spoke at length this past Monday. And a person who was at the annual league meeting for those sessions and much more is a man who joins me now. It is a pleasure to welcome back to the Galdi podcast, Washington Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack. You can read his work at lastmanstandig.substack.com. He also is the host of the Last Man Standig podcast. You can follow Ben on X at Ben Standig. Ben is joining us for the first of 2 conversations. We, in our upcoming conversation with Ben, will go in depth on how Adam Peters is and should be handling the team from a salary cap perspective, but we in this conversation with Ben will discuss his takeaways from the NFL's annual league meeting and where we are with what Washington will do with its number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL draft. Hey Ben, how are you?
Good, man. How about you?
Doing well. Good to talk to you. A lot of good stuff from Josh Harris, Adam Peters, and Dan Quinn this past Monday. Is there anything that Harris, Peters, or Quinn did not get asked this past Monday that you wish had been asked?
Oh, I mean, sure. I don't think we asked about the specific players. I mean, obviously they can't to a degree say, like, I don't think I asked, like, hey, what do you think about Jeremiah Love? Or what do you think about Reuben Bain? Because, like, you're thinking, like, okay, they're not going to give me a great answer. But at the same point, sometimes within that not great answer reveals something. Or maybe, who knows? So probably that wasn't said enough. I don't personally I've not thought Deebo Samuel was coming back here forever, but that wasn't asked, I mean, considering the circumstances. The Brandon Ayuk thing it's frustrating in that because he's still on the Niners, Peters would just default to, well, I can't talk about somebody on another team. So there's only so much you can do with that. And there were some questions that were, I think, phrased nicely to work around it. But those are some of the things that sort of come top of mind.
You mentioned receiver Deebo Samuel Sr. So many of Washington's unrestricted free agents this offseason remain unsigned. The 4 most prominent: Deebo, tight end Zach Ertz, running back Austin Eckler, and linebacker Bobby Wagner. Understanding that it seems unlikely that Washington will re-sign any of those guys, if I said to you that the Commanders did re-sign one of those guys, who is the guy?
I guess I would say Ertz in that, let him rehab and see where the world looks like in time. But I mean, they obviously already signed Okonkwo, so it feels like that ship has sailed. Eckler, you brought in Rachaad White. Deebo, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could technically say that, like if the Ayuk thing is not real and they don't take a receiver at 7, right? Then then what are they doing? So maybe, but again, I just don't see him being a fit. Maybe that's just how I view it, and maybe I'm projecting myself. And then the Wagner thing, I've thought that maybe, but after asking Dan Quinn about the green dot situation, I don't get the sense that that's in play, because like in order to have Wagner at this point, you'd have to have 3 linebackers on the field, and I just don't. It doesn't seem like it'd be one thing if they're going with like a classic 3-4, right? But like it doesn't seem like that's going to be, it seems like Chason and Oweh are going to be essentially 2 of the linebackers, which leaves Luvu and Chenal inside, which leaves Wagner nowhere. So that's kind of where I'm like, none of them, but I guess I'd say Ertz just because.
Dan Quinn this past Monday morning gave you an expansive answer to your green dot question. Here was that answer.
So the question was regarding like a green dot and what that goes. And so in this instance, we'll have a number of different packages, Ben. It will be, if I can say it this way, who has probably the most on-field in all the packages would be the one that would do that. I've done it with safeties before, and so it's really, the green dot is the initial part of the communication hub. That doesn't mean they're making all the calls and the checks. In other words, then you could have theoretically at safety and give it to me as the linebacker, and I'm doing all the communication, because I may not be in on every package. So in practice, we get a number of people that can work through that communication, but it doesn't have to be one specific position. It usually falls into a good communicator and one that is involved in the most packages. So for us, Luvu is somebody that, I would also consider into that space. He'll still likely play our will linebacker, which is one of our inside guys, which are similar, but he could be the one to go do that. That doesn't mean he would have the most at the line communication, but it does mean you do have to have a few people trained for that.
And with regards to the...
And I'll go back one. I think two communication hubs are really needed. It's one in the front seven and one in the secondary. So whether we have the green dot or not, who's in and out of checks, how do they get there, but one in the front seven, one in the back seven, and then one of those positions will have the green dot.
Okay, which Washington player is most likely to wear the green dot in week 1 of the 2026 regular season?
It's a weird one, right? Because if you said to me, just profile, is Frankie Luvu that guy? I'd be like, I don't think so. I mean, to me, and maybe I'm wrong, but to me, it seems like you want that green dot guy to be somebody who is looking at the field, who can quickly identify what is happening out there, and that doesn't seem like Frankie Luvu. Frankie Luvu is more of a ball there, go get ball guy, right? It feels like Chenal is sort of the same. And Quinn said you could do the safeties. Okay, cool, but who's playing safety? I mean, Nick Cross did play almost every snap with the Colts, so that would fit the idea of that guy's got to be on the field pretty much the most of the time, if not all the time. But that's not what he did in Indy. And at the league meetings, I asked Andy Reid about Chenal and Shane Steichen about Nick Cross and things like that. And they were like, oh, of course. I mean, everybody can do everything, but I don't know. So I guess I want to know tell me who's playing safety. If Will Harris is the starting safety, then maybe I could see him doing it. And then beyond that, look, everybody has to start somewhere. So maybe it is somebody like Chenal. He's the guy that, Luvu is only here in theory for at least one more year. Beyond that, we'll see, where Chenal just signed a deal. So maybe there's something to that, but I don't know. I think it's a interesting decision. But also, like I said, to that end, it doesn't feel like Jordan McGee is going to be that guy because, again, that means 3 linebackers have to be on the field, and I don't get the sense that's what they want. So as the base kind of deal. So, yeah, it's a weird one.
The Jordan McGee situation is so funny to me. I have never seen a Washington player talked up so much but play so little. And I'm not saying this as a knock on him. I'm saying this as an observation regarding Dan Quinn and the team's defensive coordinator the last 2 seasons, Joe Witt Jr. But Quinn and Witt have said so many good things about McGee, and yet this past season, a lost season in which playing a younger player like McGee made sense, did not play all that much. He played on more than half of Washington's defensive snaps in a game just twice over the team's final 8 games this past regular season.
Well, I think that's been the case, right? With to your question earlier about what other things maybe would have asked, to get into more. I mean, the 2024 class in general to me is still fascinating, putting aside the quarterback. I heard that Dan Quinn told somebody, Kevin Clark, maybe somebody in an interview, that if you had to say who's got the potential breakout guy, that he would pick Johnny Newton. Now, we didn't ask about Johnny Newton because, again, there's just a lot of topics. And again, it's hard to know exactly their plan on defense. If it looks like last year where it's 2 defensive tackles on the field, well, Johnny Newton now looks like he's number 4, right? But with Tim Settle here, so I don't know what that suggests. Even if that's not the case, even if it's sort of a Payne, Settle, Kinlaw, and then Newton's the next guy. Okay, I still don't know what that exactly means. I mean, I don't know that it doesn't look like they're comfortable at all with him against the run. Then you get the cornerback, right? Like, okay, right now, Sanders still Trey Amos on the outside, and we'll see how often they use a nickel. But if Mansour Delane gets picked, which I don't think is out of the question, well, what does that then mean? Is Sanders still now not even starting? The Brandon Coleman situation, I actually think he has a decent chance to beat out Chris Paul based on what, again, I think the new scheme is going to be with this more zone blocking and needing the lineman to get down the field to the second level, that he's just so athletic. But I don't know. Ben Sinnott, okay, he's not a tight end. He's an H-back. Cool. But, like, we understand how this thing works. You can't really have all these guys on the field. I mean, you can go 13 personnel, but you know what I mean? Like, if Bates is going to block and you just signed Okonkwo, then how often is Sinnott even playing? So I think to me, it's like, what's the deal with all this? And you mentioned Jordan McGee. We spent all this time the last 2 years talking about, is he the heir apparent? And again, maybe that was nothing to it. He was a 5th-round pick. It wasn't like he was, a 1st-round pick. But that's just like I was asking last year. How do you know if he can be the green dot guy unless he's the green dot guy? And, we see him in practice. Okay. Well, if that's the case, then clearly, again, maybe I'm wrong, but it does. Why go out and sign Chenal if Jordan McGee is ready to come in and be a guy when you probably are only going to have the 2 true linebackers on the field? So the 2024 class, I think there's still a lot of questions there.
All right, let's talk about what Washington is going to do with its number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, which now is less than 3 weeks away, April 23rd through the 25th in Pittsburgh. You on Wednesday on your Substack came out with your 2026 NFL Mock Draft 7.0. You in it had Washington trading down with the Los Angeles Rams from number 7 to number 13, had the Rams taking Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love at 7, and had the Commanders taking USC receiver Mekhi Lemon at 13. What I most want for Washington with that number 7 overall pick is for the team to trade down. The thinking has been that the draft being perceived to be a weak draft for quarterbacks makes first-round trade down opportunities unlikely, but you view Love as a non-quarterback who could spark a trade down.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, I'm like everybody else, like, it's hard to stomach the idea of taking a running back this high, especially when you're not like one player away from contending. It's hard to know exactly where Washington's at, but I wouldn't sit here today and say, boy, they're right back in the NFC title mix. Like Adam Peters said, he doesn't see a lot of trades happening because of the quarterback thing, which is totally right. Okay. But what would it take? What would it take for some team to move up? Now, you might say, well, what about the other premium positions? Defensive end, right? Something like that. Or offensive tackle. Well, the only left tackle that looks like he's potentially going in the first round is like Monroe Freeling, and everybody seems to suggest he's a crazy athlete, but he's not worthy of being a top 6 pick unless you're just projecting out that he's just going to become all that. The defensive ends, I don't know. You kind of get the feeling like if David Bailey or Ruben Bain were being viewed as the next great guys coming in, the mock drafts would not have them constantly now falling potentially into, say, Washington's range. So you look at Jeremiah Love, like he's one of those guys in this draft where like he might be the best player in the draft. It's just that the position is the issue. So then you look at the Rams. Well, okay, what are the Rams at? First of all, they're the team that's the F them picks team. So they are willing to be aggressive with their picks. They already moved a bunch for Trent McDuffie. This is probably the last ride for Matthew Stafford. So this is a team that I think at various points last year I thought was the leading contender to win the Super Bowl. They don't get home field advantage. Seattle does, and maybe that tipped the scales ultimately. I would think you try to maximize the Stafford thing. And yeah, they have Kyron Williams, but he's not a game breaker. And I even went into like I don't like it when somebody says, "We'll just make this trade," and then it just leaves the elephant in the room. Why you got these two guys? But then you look at it like Kyron Williams, like the Jags need a running back. His former OC is the head coach. The Jags have like 100 picks between number like 50 and like 110. So hypothetically, they could then move him there and whatever. I just think Love as a playmaker with that group would be really, really fascinating. So to me, would have to take all those scenarios. Other than that, it's hard to see exactly a significant trade down. Not like the Chiefs want to go from 9 to 7, but it seems like that the Rams would be the one team that actually would make sense, I think, on some level, even though I'm fully in on what are you doing taking a running back that high, let alone trading for one.
Much more with Ben Standig in moments, but if you have a case, contact the Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. If you feel that you've been wronged, if you think that you've been wronged but aren't sure, contact the Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers, and mention that Al Galdi sent you. You could call 202-902-7611. You could also visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com, and submit for a free, no-obligation case review. The Nace Law Group, it features compassionate lawyers and zealous advocates for its clients. Led by the great Chris Nace and founded in 1979, the Nace Law Group is a Washington, D.C.-based family law firm that handles medical malpractice, personal injury, birth injury, legal malpractice, and consumer protection cases, offering aggressive advocacy for victims in Washington, D.C. and West Virginia. The Nace Law Group is outstanding. It will fight for you and your family. The Nace Law Group has recovered millions of dollars for the sick and injured. If you have a case, contact the Nace Law Group. We always hope that all is well with you, but if you have an issue, if you have concerns, contact the Nace Law Group. Call 202-902-7611 or visit Washington, D.C., injurylawyers.com and tell the Nace Law Group that Al Galdi sent you. The Nace Law Group, accident and injury lawyers. We're talking with Washington Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack. Are there any other non-quarterbacks in the 2026 NFL draft who you could see compelling a team to want to trade up for Washington's number 7 overall pick?
Like I said, I guess it depends on what you view of if Bailey or Bain or I guess Reese somehow fell. Now, again, would Washington, like that was the thing also, like, look, let me be super duper honest here, Al. We still have 3 weeks to go here before the draft. Before free agency, I just kept putting Caleb Downs down because that's, to me, it made a lot of sense. Post free agency, I just sort of keep giving them Jeremiah Love. So I don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over again. So I was like, well, how else can I shake this up a little bit? So I just don't know though where else. I think in the previous mock draft, the intro part was about, okay, let's talk about trade down scenarios. And so I felt compelled to, if I'm going to do that exercise, to then actually put one in the deal. And I think I had Miami, which I know some people would look and say, well, Miami aren't they rebuilding? Sure, but they have 11 draft picks. And if you think that David Bailey or Ruben Bain in particular are worthy building blocks, well, okay, then maybe you could justify trading. I think they have 4 third-round picks. Maybe you could justify trading one of those third-round picks to move up to get that guy. Because, hey, look, if Washington didn't just go get Oweh and Chason, I think we'd probably all be going, oh, well, they should definitely hope one of those guys get there. So that is the position is that important. So maybe that, but again, if Bailey or Bain are getting down to 7, then clearly it's not a universal view that they are somebody that you have to grab.
You win your 2026 NFL Mock Draft 7.0 on your Substack. Have Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson being taken by the Pittsburgh Steelers at 21. What would be so good is if the stock of Simpson rose enough to where a team felt the need to trade for Washington's number 7 overall pick to get Simpson. Is that at all realistic?
Yeah, so I'm kind of using the Steelers as like a placeholder. Like I'm of the belief that he gets picked in the first round. Now, maybe I'm overestimating my own QB assessments here, because I remember watching Alabama, as we're wont to do because they're always on TV, the first half of the year, and I was so impressed watching him that I didn't know anything about him. Obviously, he's a first-year starter, and I texted a scout. I was like, "Hey, what's the deal here? Is this guy just a good college quarterback, or is there like a real deal?" He's like, "No, he's looking pretty good, but again, he's only played X amount of games." I get it if like the Jets or the Cardinals or the Browns don't take him because, okay, maybe they don't think he's all that. And you don't want to, and those teams, if they're still bad next year, it feels like every year they now say it's a loaded QB draft. But if next year that it is the place to be, okay, maybe you don't need to make that move. But some other teams, like Pittsburgh's not going to be have a top 5 pick next year, right? So a team like that to me should make that move, maybe even trade up. If you want to tell me the Rams at 13 are like, all right, well, again, we're not going to be in the position to get that quarterback. This could be Stafford's last ride. We think we're pretty loaded across the board. What if we either take him at 13 or maybe they could trade down a couple spots and so I don't know that there's enough momentum to suggest he's getting to Washington. I don't know about that, but getting above the Steelers at 21, yeah, I think that's conceivable. But also, and it's funny, I was literally just having a text conversation with some people about the idea of Kirk Cousins now going to the Raiders, and what does this mean? And I'm like, well, to me, it reads they are saying the Raiders are telling Kirk Cousins camp, we don't see Mendoza starting. Forget just week 1. We don't see him starting for a bit. And that's unusual based on how the NFL goes these days. But I also think it's what most teams actually would want to do. I know in 2024, I asked those questions here before we knew for sure Jaden Daniels was going to be the guy. I asked people around the league, what do you think? And the majority of the people that I spoke with were like, ideally you sit the quarterback because you want him to learn. But the reality then becomes, whether it's fans, media, maybe even the owner, what are we doing here? We're a bad team. Get this guy on the field, and then they cave and so on. So that's the question I think with Simpson. That's why the Rams I think would be ideal, because he's not going to play. And they have a guy to move forward with if Stafford's done after this year.
What stands out with Ty Simpson is that some very respected people are high on Simpson. NFL draft analyst Todd McShay of The Ringer, ESPN NFL analyst Dan Orlovsky. Each guy has said a lot of nice things about Simpson. But the thing about his stock potentially rising to where a team feels the need to trade for Washington's number 7 overall pick to get Simpson is we're running out of time if the stock has not already risen. The first round of the draft, a mere 20 days away.
I would say that, just looking at the mock drafts in general, look, if I don't know how many truthful things Adam Peters said to us the other day, but I think one thing he said that was truthful was that he has no idea what's going to happen in the picks in front of Washington. And I think that's the problem with this draft. Not specifically those picks, but there's no definition to this. Once you get past Mendoza at 1, maybe we'll say the Jets take an edge guy as opposed to anything else, as opposed to a specific individual. But after that, the board is all over the place. And so because of that, you're seeing a lot of the same picks over and over and over again on one mock to another. Dylan Thieneman, everybody's having him go into the Vikings at 18. Even Arvell Reese at 2. Okay, that seems probable, but is it him over Bailey or Bain definitively? I don't know. And again, you can kind of go look through some other options here. The Jets always get Jordan Tyson, it feels like. Monroe Freeling goes to the Lions. I think that's because there's not enough information out there yet. So the Simpson thing, it could go either way. It could be oh no, the league really thinks he stinks and he's just going to be a guy who's going to pick on day 2 maybe. Or, by the way, let's remember the Kenny Pickett draft, right? He's the only quarterback picked in the first 2 rounds, even though we kept hearing how Malik Willis could be a guy and some other of those guys. Or on the other hand, we'll hear, oh, wait, we actually really do like Ty Simpson, but the information isn't out there yet. So as much as people like to infer that the mock drafts mean a lot, and as somebody who does them, I can tell you, I don't think they really do until we get to the final stages. Or if there's a year where, again, the first 4 or 5 picks are kind of obvious, and then it helps form what's probably going to happen.
I was thinking about this. We last spoke on this podcast on episode 1275 on March 6th. We since then have had all that Washington has done in free agency, have had a number of pro days for players in the 2026 NFL draft, and have had Adam Peters and Dan Quinn's lengthy sessions with reporters this past Monday at the NFL's annual league meeting. But I don't think that we, regarding what Washington will do with its number 7 overall pick in the draft, know anything more now than we did when we last spoke.
Oh, no. I mean, to their credit, they did a really good job of addressing their needs either in a significant way, like what they did with the edge, or at least in a, hey, if we have to play tomorrow, we have De'Ami Brown, Van Jefferson, Traylon Burks is back. We can make that work. Look what we did in 2024, right? So they did that kind of across the board such that, if you want to scream center, sure, but that's not 7, so that's not a thing there. So yeah, it's hard to know. Here's where I've tried to narrow the field. I don't know if I'm right, but this is how I've tried to narrow the field. You of course know about the RAS score, the relative athletic score that takes all these 40 times and the measurables and all these things and combines them into one number to try to gauge how good of somebody is an athlete and compare them to the others at their positions, both this year and then historically. The Commanders in the 2 years under Adam Peters have had the highest RAS score for their classes, right? So that suggests a type. Okay, so if we ignore the position part and just look at the type of the athletes, again, they're all incredible athletes, but some are just better than others, I think it would be from this bucket. If we're just talking about 7, it would be Arvell Reese, if he were there. It would be David Bailey, the other defensive end. It would be Jeremiah Love, right? I mean, he's, sub 440 time and, pass catcher, all these kinds of things. It would be Mansour Delane, the cornerback from LSU. He just ran a blistering 40 time and, has a lot of those positive athletic traits. And I feel like I'm forgetting somebody here, but I'll think about it in a second. But Sonny Styles, yes, the guy who blew up the whole combine. Yeah, him. So to me, those 5 guys I would rank over, say, Tate or Downs or Bain. That may not be accurate because in the case of, say, Downs, people think he might be the best player in the draft, but it's not from an athletic perspective. It's from an intellectual perspective, which is great. But that doesn't seem to be what they have valued necessarily. Of course, they want smart players. I'm not suggesting that, but that's not the overriding factor. So in my head, I'm sort of narrowing it down to those 5 players if they stay at 7, which I think is all reasonable in terms of what they need. That's 2 edge rushers, a linebacker, a running back, and a corner. I kind of have Mekhi Lemon with a step and a foot in both camps, because he's not some blow your mind athlete, but for what he is, there's a lot of positives there. So that one's a little bit trickier for me. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. But to your point, I'm having to look at it like that because we're not getting much out of them, even in just how they maneuvered in free agency.
Good point on the Adam Peters affinity for relative athletic score standouts, for RAS standouts. That affinity has extended into what he has done in free agency this offseason. A lot of Washington's unrestricted free agent acquisitions this offseason are RAS standouts. Linebacker Leo Chanel, edge defender Adafe Owe, safety Nick Cross, all of them big-time RAS performers. Washington Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack. Ben, thanks, and we'll talk soon.
Al, always a pleasure to be here. Thanks, man.
Today's show is sponsored by Strawberry.me. Let me ask you something. Do you think championship athletes got to the top by guessing? No, they had coaching. Every elite athlete has a coach watching their form, calling the plays, and spotting the blind spots they can't see themselves. That's how championships are won. So why are you trying to win in your career without a coach? You're grinding, hoping for the promotion, trying to read the politics, guessing your next move. That's amateur hour. If you want to perform like a pro, you need coaching. Strawberry.me matches you with a professional career coach who breaks down your game film. They help you negotiate the raise, navigate workplace politics, and execute a strategy that actually works. Stop riding the bench in your own life. Go to strawberry.me/podcast50 to get 50% off your first coaching session. Strawberry.me, because pros don't guess, they get coached to win.
Well, Washington Commanders managing partner Josh Harris also is co-managing partner of the Philadelphia 76ers and is co-managing partner of the New Jersey Devils. The Washington Wizards, they lost to Harris's Sixers 153-131 at Capital One Arena on Wednesday night. And the Washington Capitals, they lost at Harris's Devils on Thursday night.
And now we're going to go a little dust up between Glass and Hendricks Lapierre with 2.5 to go here, and that's going to bring everybody over. Not sure what started that, but Hendricks was more than ready to dance, and gloves come off. I think they're going to call the game right there. They did. Final score, they say that's it. They'll take the 2.5 off and go home. Final score, Devils 7 and the Capitals 3.
Yeah, interesting ending to the game. John Walton and Ken Sabrin on the Washington Capitals radio network. A 7-3 loss for the Caps at the Devils on Thursday night. The Caps overcame a 2-0 first period deficit to tie the game at 2 in the first period, but lost the rest of the game 5-1. The loss ended the Caps' 3-game winning streak. The Caps in the NHL's 2025-2026 regular season fell to 38-29-9, still at 85 points, still just 3 points out of the spot for the Eastern Conference's second wildcard spot, but 3 teams now have 88 points. The Ottawa Senators, who have the spot, the Detroit Red Wings, and the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Caps are 4 points behind the New York Islanders for third place in the Metropolitan Division, as the top 3 teams in each division make the postseason. The Caps are not that far back of these postseason spots, but the Caps have just 6 games left in this regular season, and goal prevention has become a problem for the Caps. They now have allowed at least 4 goals in each of the team's last 4 games. So the Caps starting goaltender on Thursday night was their number 1 goaltender, Logan Thompson. He started for a 9th consecutive game played in the 200th regular season game of his NHL career, but he stopped just 23 of the 29 shots on goal that he faced. Is Thompson worn down? Is he fatigued? He had been having such a good season, but he, over the last 4 games, has not been good. And the Caps lost 7-3 despite winning the puck possession battle. They had 32 shots on goal to the Devils' 30, and per natural stat trick had 53 5-on-5 shot attempts to the Devils' 46, although that did include the Caps having 6 5-on-5 high-danger shot attempts to the Devils' 9. The Caps went 1 for 2 on the penalty kill. They got worked by Devils center Jack Hughes. He had 2 goals and 3 assists. Jack Hughes, who on February 22nd scored the game-winning goal, the golden goal, 141 into overtime in the United States of America's thrilling 2-1 overtime win over Canada in the gold medal game in men's hockey at the Olympics in Italy. The game happened 46 years to the day of the U.S.'s last gold medal in Olympics men's hockey, the Miracle on Ice, on February 22nd, 1980. But Hughes had a big game on Thursday night. Another key player for the Devils, winger Jesper Bratt, had a big game on Thursday night. He had a goal and 4 assists. The post-game session of Caps head coach Spencer Carberry with reporters late night on Thursday night began with this exchange between the radio voice of the Caps, John Walton, and Carberry, and then you'll hear a follow-up exchange between Caps insider Mike Vogel of WashingtonCaps.com and Carberry.
Spencer, what in your opinion led to the puck mistakes and mistakes for your team after you tied it? It seemed like things started to get away from you a little bit.
Yeah, I thought we were still fighting it and hanging on even at that point in the first period. Their speed, and obviously we didn't have an answer for 86 and 63 tonight, so that's a huge part of the game. And anytime they hopped over the boards, just felt like we could not prevent them from entering the zone, getting to a full O-zone sequence for 30, 40 seconds. That even when it didn't amount to a goal, it grabbed a lot of momentum for their group, and we were defending and having to waste a lot of energy there. And so that took a lot out of us, and you got to give him credit. I mean, Jack Hughes is a hell of a player. Jesper Bratt's a hell of a player. So they're, when they have nights like tonight, they make it really challenging. You have to be at your utmost best on games where they play like that, and we just didn't have an answer for it.
It seemed like one of those nights, too, where you guys had your looks and your chances as well, but I guess it's harder to come from behind against this team. And it seemed like they didn't have to work as hard for their goals as you guys did.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that, though, Vogues, just based on this. Like, it doesn't look like Jack Hughes is working hard at all, but he is. Mm-hmm. He's just that effortless when he goes through the neutral zone and picks apart 2 guys and makes them miss. So that doesn't look like he's working that hard, but he is, and he's putting you in a real vulnerable spot. So that leads to the Dougie Hamilton goal. That leads to not necessarily the 2-on-1s and the breakaways, but it leads to long O-zone shifts for them, and that was a problem for us tonight throughout the game. And then obviously when we're trailing in the game, we get momentum and we come back and we still fight and we are right there. It just, a little bit too much to overcome, and you would like to think that you can keep them to under what we gave up tonight from a goals standpoint and in expected goals. Like, their expected goals are as high this is probably the highest it's been in, half dozen games for us. It's up in the threes, which is never a good sign.
All right. When it came to the Caps' 3 goals in this loss at the Devils on Thursday night, a very good game for Caps defenseman Cole Hudson.
And just deflecting a little bit offline, Pierre-Luc Dubois finishing a hit in the corner as the puck comes out to center, and now ahead to Cole Hudson, who will come in and shoot, and he scores! Cole Hudson on a break-up ice keeps it low and scores against Allen with 11:45 to go here in the first. The second NHL goal for Cole Hudson. Oh, baby, it's 2-1.
Yeah, Cole Hudson, even strength goal, 8:15 into the first period. He had a game-high 11 total shot attempts, including a game-high 7 shots on goal, and he was number 1 on the Caps in 5-on-5 shot attempt percentage for the game per natural stat trick at 68.75. The Caps, with Hudson on the ice in 5-on-5 situations in the game, had 22 shot attempts versus allowing 10 shot attempts, and all of this happened off Hudson in the Caps' previous game, their 6-4 win over the Philadelphia Flyers at Capital One Arena this past Tuesday night, struggling. He played for just 10 minutes, 58 seconds as he committed 2 minor penalties, but in this win over the Devils played for 18 minutes, 48 seconds. There will be growing pains with Cole Hudson, but the guy has talent. The Caps on March 15th announced having signed him to a 3-year entry-level contract beginning with this season. They took him in the second round of the 2024 NHL Draft. So a good game for Cole Hudson. Also, a good game for Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Chychrun taking a look, sending it right side, and handing it here to Leonard. A shot in some traffic, rebound for Dubois. They score! Pierre-Luc Dubois right at the doorstep, able to force it through. We are tied here in North Jersey with 10:13 to go. 2-2 here at the Rock.
The Caps in this loss at the Devils on Thursday night went 1 for 3 on the power play. Caps second-line center Pierre-Luc Dubois, he scored a power play goal 9:47 into the first period. Also, he had a secondary assist, was tied for number 2 on the Caps with 4 shots on goal and went 10-9 on faceoffs. And also scoring for the Caps on Thursday night was Tom Wilson.
Ahead left side for Sandin, into the middle, shooting, he scores! Tom Wilson gets one back here on a great feed from the near circle. Wilson coming down the slot, buries it against Allen with 10:27 to go. And the Capitals with life, it's 5-3.
Caps second-line right wing Tom Wilson, he scored an even-strength goal 9:33 into the third period, giving him 28 goals in this regular season. He's second on the team in goals. Alex Ovechkin has 31. Also, Wilson had a secondary assist, giving him 28 assists in this regular season. And with Alex Ovechkin, he served as the Caps' top-line right wing. He had no points and registered a plus-minus rating of -3. However, his performance is a good example of why you can't just judge a player on points and plus-minus. Ovi was number 2 on the Caps with 9 total shot attempts, including being tied for number 2 on the Caps with 4 shots on goal. He ranked number 2 on the Caps in 5-on-5 shot attempt percentage for the game per natural stat trick at 66.67. The Caps, with Ovechkin on the ice in 5-on-5 situations in the game, had 16 shot attempts versus allowing 8 shot attempts. And Ovi dished out a game-high 4 hits. So Alex Ovechkin overall had a good game. The Caps for this loss at the Devils on Thursday night remain without winger Alexi Protas. He did not play for a second consecutive game due to an upper body injury that he suffered in the Caps' 5-4 shootout win at the Vegas Golden Knights late night this past Saturday night. The Caps' healthy scratches for this loss at the Devils on Thursday night. 4 guys. So winger Ethan Frank was a healthy scratch for a second consecutive game of having not played in the Caps' previous 3 games due to a lower body injury. And the Caps had 3 defensemen as healthy scratches. Declan Chisholm, Dylan McElrath, and Timothy Liljegren, who was a healthy scratch for an 8th consecutive game, despite having been acquired by the Caps via trade on March 6th, what was 2026 NHL trade deadline day. Time is running out for our Caps. So here was Tom Wilson during his post-game session with reporters late night on Thursday night.
Yeah, I mean, our backs are against the wall now, and this one stings. We were playing pretty good hockey, but I think we got to throw this one out quickly, have a short memory, and move forward.
Okay, and the final exchange of Spencer Carberry's post-game session with reporters late night on Thursday night was this exchange.
How difficult are results like this when the margins are so small in the playoff race at this point?
Yeah, this is a tough game for our group, no doubt. Feel like we needed to have this. We'll regroup. We'll see where we're at. And irregardless of the Eastern Conference, the wild card, the Metro standings, I know how we're going to approach it as a staff, and I know how our players are going to approach it, and we will fight till game 82, whatever the scenario looks like.
Well, the Caps this weekend have games on back-to-back nights, home to the Buffalo Sabres Saturday night at 7 and at the New York Rangers Sunday night at 7. And that'll do it for you and me for now, but there's more to come. Monday show, episode 1296. We'll have a lot for you on the Washington Commanders. Also on Monday's show, I'll talk Washington Capitals, Washington Wizards, Washington Nationals, and Baltimore Orioles. The Caps this weekend have games on back-to-back nights, home to the Buffalo Sabres Saturday night at 7 and at the New York Rangers Sunday night at 7. The Wizards this weekend have games on back-to-back days at the Miami Heat Saturday afternoon at 3 and at the Brooklyn Nets Sunday afternoon at 3:30. The Nats this weekend have a 3-game series against the Los Angeles Dodgers at Nationals Park. The O's this weekend have a 3-game series at the Pittsburgh Pirates. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you on Monday.
You really don't know, because you don't know what we're trying to do. You guys don't look at the films. You don't know what happened. You really don't know. You think you know, but you don't know, and you never will, okay?